Hello friends, you are welcome in video lecture series on ecological adaptations. So today I am going to discuss the ecological adaptations in next group of ecology known as hydrophytes. So we know the plants which are growing in water partially or fully below the surface of water or on the surface of water or near the water bodies in the marshy soils. That means plants which are growing in the vicinity of water, either partially they are growing below the water body, water surface, or they may be floating on the surface of water, or they may be found in the banks of the rivers, pools, ponds, ditches, etc. That means plants which are growing in the water or on the water surface or near the water bodies, they are commonly known as hydrophytes. So these hydrophytic plants are further classified into three major groups on the basis of relation of these plants with aquatic conditions and aerial conditions. So first group of hydrophyte is commonly called as free-floating hydrophytes. That means in these free-floating hydrophytes, the plant body of these hydrophytic plants floats freely on the surface of water. For example, lemna, another example Eichhornia, another example Pistia. So there is a long list of these free-floating hydrophytes, and all these plants like lemna, Eichhornia, Pistia are commonly growing on the surface of water bodies. That's why these plants are commonly known as floating hydrophytes. Another group of hydrophyte is commonly known as submerged hydrophytes. So these submerged hydrophytic plants, they are further classified into two categories, such as number one, rooted floating hydrophytes. For example, Nymphaea is an example of rooted floating hydrophyte. Another example is Nilumbu. Next example is lotus or water lily. So these plants are commonly showing their stem and root system in the substratum, and the leaves of these plants as well as flowers of these plants, they are on the surface of water. That means leaves are floating in floating condition, while stem is found in the muddy substratum. That's why these plants are commonly known as rooted floating hydrophytes. So this is the sub-classification of floating hydrophytes. These plants like lemna, Eichhornia, Pistia, they are commonly called as free-floating hydrophytes. There is no connection of their stem as well as root system with the substratum or muddy soil. But another group of plant which shows the close association of their shoot system as well as roots in this muddy substratum, and another organs like leaves as well as flowers, they are on the surface of water. They are in the aerial conditions. That's why they are commonly known as rooted floating hydrophytes. Next group of hydrophyte is commonly known as submerged hydrophytes. So for example, this is the example of submerged hydrophyte. For example, Ceratophyllum. For example, Felicinaria. So this dotted line indicates the water. Dotted line in this diagram shows the water. So the plant body of these plants is totally immersed below the surface of water. That means totally these plants are growing inside the water bodies. The plants like Ceratophyllum, plants like Felicinaria, as well as plants like this Hydrilla. So this Hydrilla, Felicinaria, Ceratophyllum, these plants are totally growing inside the water bodies. That's why this group of plant is commonly known as submerged hydrophytes. That means another group of hydrophyte, third group of hydrophyte is commonly known as amphibious hydrophytes. So why these plants are known as amphibious hydrophytes? Because these plants are commonly found in shallow water bodies. Shallow water bodies, and in these plants, some part of the plant is in the muddy substratum, and all other organs, leaves, inflorescence axis, flowers, fruits, etc., they are produced in the aerial atmospheric conditions. For example, another example, there is a long list, but this is the example, typical example. Cyperus as well as typha are the examples of amphibious hydrophytes. So, as like amphibian animals, like turtle, like frog, they can survive, they can live in water body as well as on the land also. That's why these animals like turtles as well as frogs, we call them as amphibian animals. So, as like these amphibian animals, which are living in two types of habitats, aquatic habitats like water bodies and the terrestrial habitats, that means on the land also. So, these plants are commonly known as amphibious hydrophytes because they are growing in aquatic habitat partially, and they are also growing partially in aerial atmospheric conditions. That means typha, cyperus, these plants are the examples of amphibious hydrophytes. That means broadly these hydrophytic plants which are growing in the vicinity of water, either on the surface of water, below the surface of water, or near the water bodies, in the marshy soils or in the shallow water bodies, on the basis of their relationship with aquatic conditions and aerial atmospheric conditions, they are divided into these three categories like floating hydrophytes, free floating hydrophytes, rooted floating hydrophytes, submerged hydrophytes, and the amphibious hydrophytes. So, I am going to discuss the morphological adaptations in three basic vegetative parts of the plants like root system, stem or shoot system, and leaves as well as reproductive organs in these plants. So, as far as root system of the hydrophytic plant is concerned, the root system of hydrophytic plant is commonly poorly developed. So, why roots are poorly developed in hydrophytic plants? The main function of the root is the absorption of water and nutrients from the soil in terrestrial plants, in land plants. And another function of the root system is anchorage. That means to fix the plant body firmly on the substratum. That means these plants are growing in the water bodies or near the water bodies. That's why water is plenty. That's why there is no necessity to develop more number of roots, more number of root branches, more number of root hairs, etc. That's why root system in most of the hydrophytic plant is poorly developed. So, in some hydrophytic plants, root system is absent, totally absent. For example, this is the example of submerged hydrophyte. Name of this plant is Ceratophyllum. In this Ceratophyllum plant, roots are totally absent. Roots are totally absent. In some plants, for example, plants like Hydrilla, root system in Hydrilla is very poorly developed. Very few roots are there. Very few roots are there in this Hydrilla plant. That means root system is either totally absent, like plants like Ceratophyllum. Root system is poorly developed in the plants like Hydrilla. Root hairs. So root hairs are also poorly developed, or they may be totally absent in some hydrophytic plants. That means root system is poorly developed because it is lacking more number of branches, it is lacking root hairs, etc. That's why the root system is commonly called as poorly developed. That means root hairs are also poorly developed in most of the hydrophytic plants. So, additional important character is seen by some hydrophytic plants, which is known as root cap. So, root cap is generally absent. Instead of root cap, root pockets are there. Instead of root cap, root pockets are there. For example, Eichhornia. So, this is the example of free-floating hydrophyte. It is commonly known as water hyacinth. Water hyacinth. So, this plant is commonly growing on the surface of the water. Water hyacinth or Eichhornia crassips. So, this Eichhornia crassips plant shows the root pockets at the terminal ends of the roots. The root pockets are there. That means root caps are totally replaced by the root pockets in some plants like Eichhornia. So this is the adaptation required by this plant, aquatic adaptation. In some plants, roots are aerial. Roots are aerial and they are floating on the surface of water. So for providing the buoyancy means to keep the plant in floating condition on the surface of water. For this purpose, in the plants like Juicea, some roots grows on the surface of water, and these roots can store the air, and due to storage of air, these roots plays important role in keeping the plant body in floating conditions on the surface of water. That means aerial roots, floating roots are found in this Juicea plant. So this is about the adaptations in the root system of some hydrophytic plants. Then if we observe the adaptations shown by the hydrophytic plants in stem or shoot system. So stem in most of the hydrophytic plant is generally reduced. It is not woody one, it is not extensively branched one, it is not hard one as like the terrestrial plants or woody plants. That means stem is generally reduced. It is modified into offsets or stolons or rhizome or runner. For example, so if we observe the stem of this Eichhornia stem is generally horizontal. It is growing horizontally on the water surface. This stem is commonly known as offset type of stem. Another kind of plant, for example, Nymphaea. This Nymphaea plant as well as Typha plant possess the rhizomatous stem. So you know rhizome, you know ginger. Ginger is the underground modified stem which is commonly called as rhizome. So as like ginger, rhizomatous stem is also shown or developed by some plants like Typha as well as plants like this Nymphaea or lotus or nilumbo, etc. That means stem may be reduced, it may be modified into offset, it may be modified into stolon, it may be modified into runner, or it may be modified into rhizomes. That means rhizomes, runners, offsets, stolons, these are the stems, modified stems, which plays important role in vegetative reproduction of the aquatic plants or hydrophytic plants. So in some plants, for example Hydrilla, the stem is pale yellow in color, it is thin, spongy, delicate, and it is flexible. That means stem is soft, it is flexible, it is delicate, pale green in color in Hydrilla. In some plants, for example plants like Eichhornia, the stem is stout one, hard one, it is horizontally growing, it is commonly called as stolon or stoloniferous. Stem is thick one, stout one, it is known as stolon type of stem. It is a modified stem in Eichhornia. In some stems like Nymphaea as well as Typha, there is a rhizome type of stem. That means the stems in hydrophytic plant is not looking like the stems of terrestrial plants or land plants. That means stems are generally reduced. And mostly they are modified into offsets, stolons, rhizomes or runners, which take part in vegetative reproduction also. Then if we observe the leaves in hydrophytic plants, different hydrophytic plants, the leaves are generally thin one, leaves are generally small one. For example, Hydrilla. Hydrilla is an example of submerged hydrophyte. If leaves are expanded, flat, if leaf lamina is flat, expanded, due to water current, there is a possibility of tearing of the leaf lamina. In order to avoid the tearing of leaf lamina, the leaves are dissected, so much dissected. For example, in Ceratophyllum, leaves becomes so much dissected. In Hydrilla, leaves are reduced. They are very thin one, they are very small one. Leaves are growing at the nodal region in cluster or in crown or in bunch of 4 leaves. That means leaves are generally thin one, they are generally small in size, and they are pale green in color in Hydrilla. If we observe the leaves of this plant, this is also another example of submerged hydrophyte. So this Ceratophyllum, Palisneria, Hydrilla, these are the examples of submerged aquatic plant or submerged hydrophytic plants. So in this Palisneria, leaves are long one, linear one, and they are ribbon-like. That means This is the adaptation required by this plant. Long ribbon-like leaves are found in Palisneria. If you observe the leaves of this Nymphaea, the leaves of the Nymphaea are long one, which are having elongated petiole. Leaves are flat one. Leaves are flat one, long one, which are having elongated petiole. Elongated petiole. That means this is the adaptation required by this plant. Then, if we observe the leaves of Sagittaria, in Sagittaria, two types of leaves are there. That means leaves, some leaves which are small one, immersed in the water, and some leaves are flat one, elongated one. That means two different types of leaves are observed in this plant like Sagittaria. So, if we observe the leaves of most of the hydrophytic plants, the leaves are generally pale green in color. They are not dark green in color like land plants. Leaves are generally having less thickness, and leaves are generally having waxy coating on their surface. So, what is the purpose of waxy coating on the leaves of the hydrophytic plants? This waxy coating in aquatic plants is helpful for prevent the excessive wetting of the leaves and prevent the decaying of the leaf lamina. That means these pale green leaves, less thick leaves are having waxy coating. These are also the morphological adaptations shown by the leaves. Then about the reproductive structures. What are the adaptations shown by the reproductive structures? So I have told you earlier, the reproductive structures in most of the aquatic plants, they are produced on long branches, and these reproductive structures are produced in less in number. That means, what are the reproductive structures in flowering plants? Seeds. So seeds are the reproductive structures which are produced by the flowering plants or higher plants. Seeds in land plants are produced in lot of quantity. Single plant can produce thousands of seeds. For example, if you take mango, single mango plant produces hundreds of fruits, one-seeded fruits. That means there is a large number of seeds are produced by the single plant. But in case of aquatic plants, very less number of the seeds as well as fruits are produced by these plants. That means reproductive structures are produced in less number, and they are generally produced on long branches. So if seeds are produced, the seeds for their dispersal, they are having very less weight. That means seeds are light in weight for the purpose of transportation of these seeds with the help of water current. That means this is the adaptation required by this plant. Seeds having less weight or lighter weight, which can be easily transported from one place to another place with the help of water current. Then vegetative reproduction is a very common in most of the aquatic plants. In most of the aquatic plants, vegetative mode of reproduction is very common. I have told you, in most of the flowering plants, the mode of reproduction is with the help of sexual reproduction by the production of the seeds. In some terrestrial plants, land plants, vegetative reproduction is also occurring, but mostly reproduction in land plants takes place with the help of seeds, sexual reproduction. So, in most of the aquatic plants, the reproduction takes place vegetatively with the help of these modified stems, for example, rhizomes, runners, suckers, offsets, stolons, etc. That means this runner, rhizome, offset, stolon, these are the names of the modified stems in aquatic plants. And due to presence of such modified stems, these modified stems can take part in vegetative propagation. For example, if we take the example of Eichhornia, if we observe the few plants of Eichhornia in water body like lakes or ponds, in the next year, hundreds of plants are developed. Hundreds of plants are developed from single plant. So this happens because of this modified offset type of stem. That means as this plant produces with the help of offset type of stem, that means either offset is there, either stolon may be there, either rhizome may be there, or either runner may be there. So these modified stems take part in vegetative reproduction. So this is the adaptation or modification shown by the aquatic plants in case of reproductive structures. So that's all about the morphological adaptations in hydrophytic plants. So next time I am going to discuss the anatomical adaptations in hydrophytic plants. Thank you.